Now, I often talk about the importance of having a routine in sobriety, and we've just had the Easter holidays here in the UK, which means 4 days outside of our normal routine. We have 4 days away from work, time when we meet family and often meet up with friends, and it can be challenging when that routine becomes disrupted. And it's really important to understand how to maintain your alcohol-free lifestyle during those holiday periods and times when your routine is different to normal. It's important to plan in advance, especially if you've got some time away from work and your routine is going to be different. Make sure you focus on keeping your alcohol-free lifestyle as your number one priority. Know that at those times you might be meeting family and friends and people who can trigger you. It might be time to set a boundary and think about what you really want to do. Remember FOG, F-O-G, fear, obligation, guilt. If you've been invited to a social event, make sure you use that as your barometer. If you're feeling fear, obligation or guilt about any social event that you've been invited to, it's asking you to really question whether you want to go, whether you really need to go, and don't be afraid of saying no. Many people who come into this process find that they often people please, but part of this journey of growth is learning to be able to speak our truth and say no when we don't want to do something. Now, just because you feel fear, obligation or guilt, it doesn't mean that you automatically have to say no to it. It's an invitation to explore the feeling and bringing a mindful awareness to how you really feel about an invitation that you receive and an opportunity to do something. Very often it's time to go and find something different to do. There were times when I quit drinking at the start where I was invited to events and I realised that I was going out of obligation, and instead I would go and do something with my son. I'd take him bowling, I'd take him to the cinema, and that was something that was far more nourishing, and I ended up feeling far more connected to my son rather than going to sit in a pub to repeat old habits with old friends where our relationship was glued together by alcohol. During times where our routine is disrupted, it's also important to remember HALT. HALT is hungry, angry, lonely and tired. If you can nourish all of those areas, hungry, make sure you're having 3 square meals a day. Don't skip breakfast. It's so important. And try and avoid sugary breakfasts that cause you to have blood sugar spikes and followed by crashes during the mid-morning. They can feel awful. I definitely experienced those. So try and look at your nutrition plan. And if you're feeling lonely, the opposite to loneliness is connectedness. It's a sign that you need to perhaps meet up with some friends, go for a coffee, go and nourish yourself with the people around you, the people who care, the people who are supportive. And of course, if you're feeling tired, make sure you're sticking to regular bedtimes, getting up at a similar time each day, and that you're getting enough sleep. Now, angry is a different one. HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Watch out for all of those. When I talk about HALT, it sounds like we shouldn't feel those things, but it's okay to feel angry. It's more important to understand what to do with anger. Many of us were brought up as children and we were taught and we learned that it wasn't okay to be angry. It wasn't okay to feel sad. Both of those emotions are perfectly okay to feel. It's more important to understand what to do with them. And actually yesterday I was out walking in nature and I saw a guy chopping wood with an axe in his garden, and I thought that that was the perfect release for anger. The best way to release anger is through something highly energetic, like boxing, running, going to the gym, even screaming out loud or chopping wood with an axe, like I mentioned. All of those are great high energy releases for anger. It's okay to feel angry. The most important thing is that you actually recognize that anger is with you and then you do something with it, instead of just pushing it down and ignoring it. So make sure you take a close look at whether you're hungry, angry, lonely or tired, especially during the times where your routine is different to normal. If you've got time on your hands, do something kind for others. Give back. Maybe you could go and volunteer at a local food bank. Spend some time with an elderly neighbour. What could you do that will lift up someone else and will lift you up at the same time? Recently, I volunteered for the local food bank and I went and delivered some of the food to people in the local community. And it felt good. It felt good to help other people. And actually, you might think it's selfish that you're doing this to make yourself feel good, but of course it's one of the least selfish things you can do. You're helping others, you make yourself feel good, and the positive effects of that ripple out to everybody around you because you're feeling happier, you're feeling good about yourself, and you've made someone else feel good at the same time. So what could you do if you've got time on your hands and your routine maybe has been disrupted? Where could you go and volunteer? Where could you go and help someone out? And maybe it'll be in a sobriety group. Maybe you'll help someone out on their alcohol-free journey by sharing what you've learned. It looks different for everybody, but don't ignore that. I can almost guarantee that if you go and lift someone else up, you'll lift yourself up at the same time. And most importantly, don't let go of your self-care routine. It's really important to look at the foundations of your self-care. For me, that involves a 10-minute meditation. It involves always having breakfast, making sure I do something during the day to wear myself out. I'm a little bit like a dog. I need to either go for a walk, go for a run, do some exercise to make sure I feel tired in the evenings. And of course, it's a great way of releasing endorphins and dopamine and giving myself a real feel-good boost that helps me throughout the course of the day. Those are the foundations. I make sure I do those every single day. And in fact, over this long bank holiday weekend, I noticed how I'd stopped meditating. My routine was different to normal and I didn't meditate like I normally do. And I noticed how I wasn't feeling as calm as normal. So make sure you have your foundation routine, the things you do every day, no matter what, whether it's Christmas Day, New Year's Day, or even your birthday. You always keep those foundation routine elements. For many people, it's journaling, it's meditating, it's getting outside, getting into nature, and perhaps looking at your nutrition and your hydration plan. It is so important. Think about what your foundation routine looks like. And of course, if you've got time away from work and you've got a few days where things look a little different and you've got some time on your hands, you might feel like celebrating. You might feel that you're drinking because you deserve it. You deserve a reward. Well, there's a video next to me that will help you if you drink because you feel like you deserve it. You can click on that now and watch it straight away. Make sure you also subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's an amazing community. I'd love you to be part of it. And I'll see you again on the next video very soon.